What does an 18-year veteran of the tech industry and a 20-year veteran of the military have in common? More than you might think. Welcome, everyone, to the Second Act podcast, leveling up your life's journey. Welcome back, everyone. Episode 5 is here. I can't believe we are actually at episode 5 already. John, how is your week starting out?
I won't lie. It's I feel sluggish. I feel a little tired.
Yeah.
I've got a cup of coffee that I'm working my way through. So, but you look good. You got a little sweater on. You ushering in fall or what?
I'm ushering it's fall. We have finally got some cool temperatures here, and I've got my black shirt on, of course, but I've got a vest on today. I got the hat on. It's a little chilly in the house, and I'm loving it. And I'm loving that we're back together again this week, doing another episode. And I think the way your week's starting out is kind of how my week started out last week. I felt that sluggishness last week. I don't know what was causing the fogginess or lack of energy, and then compounded with maybe me being a little too hard on myself on things I wanted to get done. But yeah, you get your workout in?
I didn't. That may be what's
there you go.
dragging me down. But
yeah.
Well, let's get into it. You want to?
Yeah, let's do it. Last week, we spent the majority of time discussing the importance of trusting the process and what interferes with the process, which is seemingly everything. And due to time constraints, we decided to move the remainder of what we wanted to talk about to this follow-up episode, which will include saying no to say yes, as well as enjoying the moment, or moments, plural, in your journey. We'll cover these two topics, but just to close out some of the remaining discussion items on trusting the process and interference, we wanted to add a couple more points on the importance of this topic and the importance that community plays in all of this. And think about a community as a group of people or a social unit that share something in common, such as customs, identifying characteristics, values, beliefs, norms. And that community can include coaches. It can include mentors, confidants, friends, and others who are committed to supporting you, as well as hold you accountable to the things you said you're going to do. They want to help you be the best version of yourself.
Man, I'll tell you what, one of the things I'm realizing over my lifetime is that if I verbalize the objectives and the goals that I'm after, it just opens up that door for accountability. It just allows people to start asking questions and start holding you accountable for what you're trying to achieve. And, you know, I've got several of those in my life. You mentioned coaches. You know, I've hired a coach. I've been a coach. And I know that a coach pushes people out of their comfort zone and pushes them to stretch maybe in areas that, you know, you're not comfortable doing. You're not used to pushing your own self in that area. But, you know, it's so much bigger than just hiring somebody or having, you know, somebody on the sidelines. You know, our spouses are also huge pushes and facilitators for that change, and then the friends around us and our networks and our communities. And so I want to encourage people that if they're dealing with, you know, growth, if they're struggling with growth or they want to achieve something, the best way I think to do it is to verbalize it among your community. And yeah, at first it's awkward. You know, it's weird when you tell somebody this is what I'm going to do, and maybe they don't think you're capable of achieving that. But there's some real rawness, you know, some real vulnerability when one of those people comes back and says, hey, what are you doing with this? I know last week or last month you told me that you're going to start doing this thing, and are you actually doing it? And letting them down is, you know, So definitely not something I want to do, but I just know that when you can expand into what you're verbalizing with other people, there's some real magic that happens there.
Yeah, totally. And vulnerability has really raised its presence as an important characteristic among everyone, including leaders, and helping people understand that we're all human beings. We're all trying to figure this out. And like you, I don't want to let people down. I remember, texting you and being like, hey, John, am I meeting your expectations as we're going through this process? It's a horrible fear of mine. I use that as a driver to give it all I've got, or as best as I can in that moment, to keep moving things forward.
Yeah.
But talk about trust in the process and interference and how important these people in the community are. Some days it feels like everything is going right, and then other days it feels like everything is going wrong. And I mentioned in the last episode the idea of not having one finish line, but many finish lines in one's journey. And if you think about a finish line, just a single finish line, it puts too much pressure on a single event, I think. But if you establish many finish lines in your journey, it allows you to make that incremental progress so that when things aren't going right, you can look back and see, how far you've come. I've accomplished 1, 2, 3 things. I still have 20 more to go, but it's a good reminder that you've accomplished some stuff up to this point. And I was having a couple of bad days last week and I was convinced all my digital tools were broken. There was no engagement, no response. There were extended periods of radio silence. I was asking myself what the hell was going on. And then on top of that, it seemed like there was a deluge of things interfering with what I was trying to accomplish each day. And I didn't feel good about the progress I was making over the last week. But then again, I remembered how far you and I have come in this journey, not knowing anything about this space. And thankfully, having this community that we're building, as well as our network of mentors and coaches and friends and family to get me through the good days and bad. And I don't know where I'd be without them, but I'm confident I would be on a different path in life. And I believe we are building a community here with the second act, a community that you can lean on and lean into for support, for knowledge, for inspiration. This community is I think it's one where something has had a significant impact on their life and urgent changes are needed now.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah.
Something that was maybe a wake-up call to the way people are working and living their life. Something that said, if I don't change, this is not going to have the ending I envisioned for myself. And there's too many people out there putting on their armor every day. Their exterior hardened with confidence that may or may not be real, but underneath, there's real struggles happening with people on balancing, taking care of work, life, and self. And I'm going to share some more stories about that a little bit later, which lead us into maybe saying no to say yes. But I'll let you round out the comments there before we jump into that if you want.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about walking in daily and putting on maybe that armor or putting other things at bay. And that's a point I got to in my career where I just realized there was more. There was something else out there. Not that I didn't love being a Marine. I loved flying. I loved doing the daily mission. I loved the sense of purpose. But I had done that for 20 years and had seen successes, had seen some failures, but I knew that I didn't want to limit myself to just being a Marine helicopter pilot. There was so many other things out there that I wanted to pursue. And I had to reach a point where it was just uncomfortable to just start and transition out into doing something else. But it started with verbalizing that with my family, friends, my coworkers. so that somebody else would push me out of my comfort zone. And, it's a real thing to tell people what you want and then allow them to hold you accountable for that.
Yeah, it is. I have friends I've shared some of my personal aspirations with, and once in a while they'll check in and be like, "How you doing getting to that goal?" And it's a reminder that you put something out there in the universe. There's people and things that are gonna conspire to help get you there, but that requires some energy and effort, and some trade-offs, which we'll talk about right now as we get into saying no to say yes.
Yeah, sometimes, as we are in pursuit of a goal or in pursuit of some big aspiration, we continually find ourselves saying yes to a lot of things, right? Yes to make ourselves grow in that area. But, doing that requires a lot of time on our behalf. And we all want to say yes to things. And I think that's part of human nature, that we generally want to be nice and willing to help any way we can, which is awesome. But we also can quickly get into a situation where we are overextended with our time and our energy, especially in a new chapter, in a new environment. And, I've, leaving the Marine Corps, I moved to a new place, started acquiring a new group of friends, started meeting new people and trying to expand my network. And I found myself saying yes to a ton of things. I mean, I spent 6 months just really working on networking. So every coffee, every lunch, every dinner, every after dinner drinks that I got invited to, I was saying yes. And for a while, it was amazing because my network was growing, and I think it was growing in a very meaningful way, not just, people that I won't ever actually do business with or be involved with in any way. But now I'm on the backside of that, and I find myself having to say no more because it can easily spiral out of control. You can easily lose, the ability to have your own personal drivers. You think you're meeting with people and you think you're networking, but then soon you could just find yourself filling your calendar and not actually being productive. So now I'm trying to actually figure out what is pushing that ball forward. What is helping me get closer to my goals? And if we say no to somebody, it doesn't mean no forever. It just means no for this period of time.
Not now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? You're very early in this stage, right? You're very early on in trying to do something new. Are you inundated with a lot of things that you feel like you have to fulfill?
Experience has helped me say no more, but I still haven't mastered it in any way. And what happens is when you say yes to too many things, at least I can find myself doing kind of a half-assed job with too many things, as well as my frustration starts to grow. Because not only am I not doing my best work on the most important things, but coming back to like not wanting to let people down, there's probably someone counting on me to get something done, and do a good job at it. So it's like a double whammy. So because of those experiences and saying yes too many times, I've learned to say no more. And I know time and money are finite resources, probably time more than money. It seems, if you're creative, you can get money in many different ways these days. But I always remind myself of those trade-offs. If I spend time on this or spend money on that, I may miss an opportunity that fits better into the things that I'm trying to be intentional about.
Sure.
And this happens all the time in work and at home. At work, in the area that I came from, software, time working in the software industry, it's anathema to build a custom feature that benefits only one client, because it's not just the building, but the maintaining over longer periods of time. And that draws resources away from things that'll bring growth and scalability to your business. But you may have a tough trade-off. You may have to say yes. If that one client is one of your largest, most important clients, it's really hard to say no to that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're mission critical to them, and there may be a substitute or an alternative product out there that's sort of nipping at their heels, trying to earn their business. And sometimes you can't say no, and that's okay.
Yeah.
This guidance, we're talking about, it's not binary. We're just trying to avoid making it a habit. And the same goes at home, or in a personal life, which is especially relevant and important today. And let me share a little bit why. First, I'm guilty of using the phrase, "Let me do one more thing," or "Give me another minute or two, and then I'll be with you."
Yeah.
and I'm becoming more self-aware of those comments, so that when I do say it, it's not like 1,000 one more things or 1,000 one more minute or twos, which takes away the entire rest of the day or evening with what's most important to me, spending time with family and friends and being present. But I haven't perfected that. By saying those two phrases, it leads to more things and more minutes. Before you know it, a huge swath of, like I said, huge swath of time has gone by.
Yeah.
And I miss out on those important things. So I'm trying to be a better version of myself and being self-aware when it comes to those things. But here's another one for the audience. I attended a rather eye-opening event last week with a presentation that focused on balance, which is sort of an elusive thing in everyone's life, but everyone strives for that right balance. The event included a speaker who is highly accomplished, discussed how we're wired from an early age to pursue accomplishments, accolades, achievements, those things, but at what cost? At what cost does that come? And during the Q&A, it got real. I won't get into all the details that he shared, but there were some very raw moments that he shared, and he has made some sacrifices to get those achievements. And those sacrifices led to a point where it created a wake-up call for him. And I would argue it was that pivotal moment that caused him to decide he's going to have his second act in some parts of his life, more personal than work-related.
Okay.
And had he not had that wake-up call and that urgency to do something now, he may have passed the point of no return with what he was pursuing and the things that were getting impacted. And I'll just add a couple more things, John. I'll let you jump in. In the same week, I was also chatting with a friend who's an accomplished executive, and I was talking with her about our podcast, what she's up to, how's life. And by the middle of the conversation, we were discussing almost a mirror image of what was discussed at the event I had attended.
Really? I
was stunned. And it's so many professionally successful people who you or I or anyone would probably never consider to be dealing with the difficulties of life's balancing act, and revealing that they are human like everyone else and struggling with the same trade-offs and sacrifices as everyone else because they have that armor on and they're good at it. Yeah. It was just amazing. And as for me personally, the recent things that have been wake-up calls for me were friends, colleagues who have encountered out of the blue health scares. And it's like, holy cow, this person is, about my age, good shape, family. And all of a sudden something happens and it just is like, it's just like, holy moly, what I need to really, again, coming back to being intentional and all that kind of good stuff. It shocks you.
Yeah.
I'll just round out with this last thought, John. I'm monopolizing here a little bit. This one really hit home for me. I recently learned that 95% of the time you spend with your kids is between the day they're born and when they turn 18.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
That is
sobering thought.
Sobering thought to think about. The next 5% of time forever is between 18 and, whenever hopefully you pass away first. And so cherish those moments, cherish that time, be mindful of all that.
That I'm glad you ended on that idea, because, when think of the last time you've heard of somebody that that has passed away, and you immediately turn to the family, whether they have kids or a spouse, and you think of them and what they're going to have to adjust to and what their new normal looks like. But I would say that we rarely put it into our own personal lives and put our own personal spin on it. I mean, if I think right now, if I were to die today, what does that look like for my wife and kids? How did I, how did I let them leave for school this morning? Did I kiss my wife? Did I hug my kids? Did I tell them I loved them? And I don't want to get too deep in this because it's possibly getting off topic. But I think if we do those type of exercises more often, it will allow us to live more freely. It will allow us to live more joyfully and put, I think we'll find ourselves putting more energy into others. One saying that I used to hear in the Marine Corps is people would say, you're not married to the Marine Corps, you're married to your spouse.
Yeah.
Which sounds interesting, especially when you're going off on these 9-month, 8-month deployments, right? And you do that multiple times. But it's a great reminder because we're going to come back and we're going to be inundated with work as soon as we come back, and training and exercises. But one day we're going to turn all that in, and it's almost like a black and white moment. And then all of a sudden, the Marine Corps is gone. That person, our spouse, or that family that we have, that's our reality for the rest of our lives. And so it's very important that even though we get wrapped up in these things, work and relationships and, the hobbies that we have, we always have to remember that it's the family that we have with us that is going to be with us for the lifetime. And even if it's 5%, right after they're 18 years old, I would rather live that 5% well. And I'd rather have said no to a few other things.
Yep.
To have that last 5%, because I'm sure when I'm on my deathbed, those things are going to be going through my mind. How did I end? And did I do it well? Did I let those people know? Did I let my wife and my kids, my family know how much they meant to me? And did I do it on a repetitive basis to where when I'm gone, that still stands? So,
yeah,
I know that's probably a morbid twist on be able to say no, but as we are living today, we have to think about the second and third order effects in the future, and when we can say no, and when we can get in and celebrate the victories that we have, and we can do that within our family, it creates also another dynamic. We've talked about in episode 2, we talked about pausing and something to slow us down, a breath count or something similar when we encounter a setback. But a pause is also important in the process or journey when it comes to mindfulness and really enjoying the moment or moments along the way. And I was wondering, have you ever found yourself living too far in the past or in the future? And what do you do to bring yourself back into the moment?
Yeah, I have found myself revisiting the past, but I find myself more thinking about the future and trying to plan out where things will go. And I have, visions of grandeur and what that looks like. And
Yeah, of course.
like anyone, again, we're wired to achieve. And again, through the community, the people we surround ourselves with, and life experience, you become more comfortable with what is today. And there's a really interesting story out there about a fisherman and a businessman that talks about trying to build an empire to reach what the person already has in life. And if you haven't, just Google the story Businessman and the Fisherman.
Give us a real quick Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, so the Cliff Notes are, there's a fisherman who wakes up late, he catches his food, he cooks the food and enjoys the rest of the day and night eating and spending time with his family. And then this businessman is on vacation and talks to this person about what they're doing and how he can help, finance getting like 5 boats and creating this commercial fishery and making all this money and building this empire so that you can wake up late, spend time on the beach, get fish, gather food, go fishing, spend time with your family and just enjoy life. And the guy who is getting pitched this idea by the businessman is like, that's what I already have. Like, why do I need all these things to create something that I'm already enjoying and I have today? As just some perspective. It's a great story, and I'm probably butchering it a little bit, but
no, it's a good reminder. It's funny. My wife will see a young child, or we'll go on vacation, and she will instantly remind me of our former lives and say, "Don't you just wish we could go back to that day where we were young and had young babies and, or young and, no kids. And it was just an amazing life that we had." And I'll have to say, it really was an amazing life. But no, I don't wish to go back and do that again, because we've had that opportunity. And I'm a very live in the moment type of guy and maybe live a little bit more for the future. But I think we do ourselves a disservice when we look back and wish that things were different, or wish that things were like they were before, because it's discrediting what we're doing right now. And it's discrediting, I think, what it took to get us to where we are. And it's not possible. So I know that it's, a fantasy, but I remind herself, let's just do this right now. Well, let's be parents to our boys right now. Well, and let's grow and let's shape something for the future. So, I don't get too distracted, looking back. There are some things I wish I could change, but now I'm focused on things that I can control right now and making them better for the future.
Absolutely. They say yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery. It's all, what you do in the moment and enjoying the moment. And for me, there's a few things that I think about to help enjoy the moment and get present with the folks I'm with, or even just on my own. Enjoying the moment can be enjoyed either with people or by yourself, and maybe it's a combination of both. But I would say, number one, hopefully this resonates with everybody. Put devices down, turn machines off. One of the great pieces of advice I received is to be where your feet are, which I thought was such a simple statement, but it's so true. There's things sort of taking your mind elsewhere, but it's a statement that helps you sort of bring back your thoughts and what you're doing to right where you are in that moment as one of the first things. Secondly, put on some music. I find music so fascinating, compared to things you watch on the internet or TV or whatever, because it's been around since the dawn of humans, and it transcends culture and languages, and it touches your emotion, and it sort of helps you like get into the present in some strange ways. And I find at times that's super helpful. The third thing I do is I take time. We've been talking about this a little bit. Celebrate the little things.
Yeah.
Take a walk outside in nature. I mean, the fact that you can just go outside and listen to the birds and see the trees and touch all the five senses is a powerful thing. In fact, it's, I think, scientifically proven to improve your state of mind. There's actually a really awesome book, one of my favorites. I might have recommended this to you, John, called The Nature Fix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is just awesome. Having a barbecue with family, going on a random adventure with friends, sharing experiences with someone, often makes it more memorable, but again, not a requirement. So those are the little things in life, right, that really make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
And one last thing, avoid comparing what you are doing to the past. Avoid projecting what you're doing, what it might be in the future. Accept what's happening, good or bad. Just go with it. It's impossible to know how the journey will end, and don't like compare yourself to others. There's always going to be somebody you can compare and compete with in life. Even if you're the richest person in the world, you're still trying to compare to the next richest person. It's silly.
Yeah, man. It's really, I think all those topics are really important. I think, saying no, enjoying the moment, surrounding yourself with community, all those things are vital, especially when you're starting out in your second act or starting out in something new. Having a community that can support and help grow you as a human being, and maintaining a better balance by saying no to things to create a better life and self and community. And then having, the idea of giving people hope and understanding that being present and enjoying where you are in your journey and realizing and celebrating how far you've come. It's a great tool for self-reflection to help in your thoughts and actions as you move forward in life. They're all things that, I think we both are encountering at separate times, but being able to reflect on them together. And it's been, even though it's been an incredibly trying time in this transition for me at times, I find that, having you around and having another source of accountability in my spouse or my family, it just really helps reduce some of that stress, reduce some of that weight, and makes you feel like you're not doing it all alone.
Yeah. You're not alone out there. You, John, are not alone, and our listeners, our community are not alone. And if this episode spoke to you, if it caused you to think, wait a minute, this isn't right, and I need to change something now before it's too late, head over to our website, michaelandjohn.com, and join the growing community of folks who realize it was time to move on to their second act.
Yeah.
Let's not let another minute go by. We're here to take back our joy, our balance, and our vision of our best selves, and we're going to do it together.
Yeah. And we'd also love to hear what you're dealing with. We'd love to bring on people that have maybe gone through that exact scenario, and we'd like to bring them on and help them provide answers, in future episodes, and give us some insight into what they used to help them get through it. So, let us know how we can help you out.
Absolutely. On that note,
see ya.
See you guys.
The Second Act with Michael and John stars Michael Newborn and John Ballenger. The podcast is produced by Seltzer Kings. For more information on the show, check out michaelandjohn.com, or if you'd like to get involved in the conversation, give the guys a shout on their socials at The Second Act with Michael and John on most platforms. Thanks for listening.